All right, so we are live. Can you still hear me?
I can.
All right, great. So the first couple things I want to say is when all the time I'm always talking about having people come on my channel. And I get, you know how people are on the internet. Every other person disagrees and doesn't like the person you're going to have on. Like, I have went through lists of people and got tons of hate. You are the first person ever since I've had this YouTube channel that I said I was going to reach out to you and try to talk to you. And I'm telling you, people think so highly of you. Like, literally the only comments I got about you were either that people didn't know who you were, or that you are a great researcher, a good guy, you know exactly what's going on, you will bring so much knowledge to my channel. So before I even started researching you, like, I knew like you were the man based off the comments. So I wanted to throw that in there. Also, I wanted to say, you guys, this is Zen Garcia, who's on the show with me. I should probably pull up a picture of him on the live stream for people who don't know who he is. Also, I have linked your YouTube channel in the description, and I want to make sure that it's the proper YouTube channel. So I'm going to go to the description of this video right now before we get into it. And do you have like 11,000 subscribers?
No, it's like 30,000, I believe. Endeavor Freedom. But I do, that's my backup channel. Zen Garcia is my backup channel.
Okay, what link do you want in the description? Which one?
Put Endeavor Freedom, because that has more of my work.
Let me make sure. And it looks like the Garden of Eden is the channel icon? Is that right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so. Adam and Eve, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me throw this in the live stream real quick, if you give me 1 second. Also, I want to note that I started researching you a little bit. Man, I saw that you have written tons of books. I glanced around all your research, so I kind of know what I'm getting into with talking to you. And like I said, man, I don't even know how I found you. When we captured this weird thing on my infrared night vision stream, and I'm going to pull that picture up right now. It looked like a feathered serpent. But at this time, I did a little research. I thought it was a flaming serpent. Somebody said, get in touch with Zen Garcia. He is the truth, man. So I'm really glad that you agreed to come on and talk to me a little bit. I've put a picture of what we got in infrared up on the screen. And basically, you guys, Zen is also the first person who has basically agreed to come on the channel free. So, like, already in my book, he's one of the realest people. You know what I mean? I said he's welcome to promote his works, promote his YouTube channel, which I have updated the link in the description if you guys want to get to his main YouTube channel. But, man, all right, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let you kind of take over a little bit because I'm sure I have a lot I could learn from you, man.
Well, it's really surprising to me that, that so many people were so supportive of my work, and I'm greatly appreciated of that. But most often I'm largely hated, criticized, and condemned. And I think I'm one of the most hated persons with regard to mainstream churchianity and the alternative truth movement. And so I'm very surprised, and I appreciate the invitation. And so
Yep.
it's a
and I get why you're hated. Probably some religious hate, maybe some other research. I'm not gonna put out there unless you want to. Some other research I can see, but man, my channel has an open mind, and there are a lot of your people. There are a lot of subscribers in my channel that believe that what we're seeing in the world is good and evil. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that, like I said, I got not one negative comment about Zen Garcia. The
Oh,
worst
right on.
thing, the
That's
worst thing anybody said was they didn't know who you were. So this is awesome. I'm excited. And I notice you have put out a ton of content. I listened to a talk show that you did with a couple guys. Man, you guys know your stuff. Like, nowhere could I have even fit in your conversation. Like, I'm talking about you guys know your research, scripture, ancient history. Like, I was like, wow, they're definitely on a higher research level than I'm on. But did you have, what do you think of what we called an infrared? I've been doing infrared for 5 years. And I have, like, I've got bugs, planes, satellites, the normal. I've never gotten anything like that photograph I sent you.
Well, it's interesting to me, that you were able to capture that on infrared because, that again, that's something that we're not able to see with the naked eye. And it's my opinion that there's a lot going on even near and around us, and especially up in the skies, um, with spiritual dimensions and dynamics that we can't comprehend.
Yeah.
And there are definitely spiritual forces all around us which are waging war against us and which most of the world discounts, with regard to understanding reality. And in my opinion, it is absolutely necessary to not only acknowledge those forces, but also to take them into account. And the appearance of, as far as it being a feathered serpent, is interesting because one of the class of fallen angels that were cast out during the ancient war in heaven, which goes back to the antediluvian and pre-Adamic times, was a class of angels called the Seraphim, which are feathered serpents. And so the dragon-like Anunnaki and the antediluvian worship of the feathered serpent worldwide in the form of Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkan, Viracocha, even what we see here in America with the symbol of the eagle. When you really examine and do your research on the icons that we see the elites portraying worldwide, you will see that the eagle is connected to the phoenix, and that the most ancient symbol is the phoenix, and the phoenix is a feathered serpent. And so the connections with even what we see with the double-headed eagle in Russia, and the elites always portraying and founding these different countries with eagle symbology or dragon
Yeah,
symbology, it all
Trump,
connects
tr-
back to the
Trump and
worship of the
Elon Musk are
serpent.
both talking about dragon energy for the past 2 years.
Yeah, you will find that everything that is connected to, um, as far as spiritual forces or New Age teachings or anything of that nature, will have the serpent or dragon type of symbology. It's the same thing with, the number of the beast 666, that we see always found in heliocentric cosmology. It lets you know as to what the connections are and uh, who and where it originates from. And so, um, I think it's important to understand that because in the ancient times, the feathered serpent was worshipped worldwide, and the reason being is because Satan, holds and has temporary reign over this realm. And so, and most people are led astray into involving themselves in idolatry and, accept and follow the worship of the feathered serpent as a pantheon of gods and goddesses, and even the whole thing with the ancient aliens being our creators. All of that is connected to the what I reference as the strong delusion, or the it's all
Yeah,
tied to that.
yeah, and every conspiracy theory that I have traced down, I mean, as far as I can realistically get with a Google search, you know what I mean, which isn't too far, everything has pushed me to good and evil. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I use an analogy on my channel a lot. Tyler from Secure Team 10, who does the UFO channel,
Hmm.
I always tell this to people. He made a video about 6 months ago upset wanting to know why he got so much hate. And he was talking about like religious type hate. And I like to say, and this isn't even, I'm not even putting him down. I have nothing bad to say about the man. I watch his show too. But it's because if you have researched aliens and conspiracy theories for years and years and years, how have you not got to the truth?
Right, right.
That
Yeah,
it's good and
absolutely.
evil and it's fallen angels. You know what I mean? How is
Right.
that not clicked? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Right.
But so
Um,
I have one quick question about the seraphim.
sure.
So if this was a seraphim, could it could be good then, right?
Well, the originally the seraphim were a class of angels which surrounded the throne room of the Most High God, and they rebelled. Whether there are still some that do serve, as far as the Most High, but these seraphim angels, and the reason we have all these, even the Anunnaki are depicted as dragon-like angels, is
Yeah.
because they were cast out, they were banished with Lucifer. They were the reptilian, snake-like angels which joined him in rebellion, and so we find mention of this in great detail in the Nag Hammadi texts. They're called the archons, and
Yeah.
this particular class, these seraphic, which Seraph means snake, serpent, and so these seraphim angels are these snake-like, dragon-like, feathered serpent angels, and so they were the ones that were rebelled and were cast out with Lucifer a long time ago. The other aspect that is very important to understand with regard to why we see worldwide, even in China and Japan and other places, the tales and the histories, the oral traditions of these cultures and civilizations being established by dragon-like entities is because the ancient ones, the rebel angels, which were banished even before the creation of humanity, they were cast out long ago. In the second book of Enoch, the book of the secrets of Enoch, in chapter 29, it speaks about them being cast out on the second day. And so this was long before even the creation of the pre-Adamic races and even that of modern humanity. And so what we see worldwide with the megalithic structures, and even those city and huge temple complexes that are at the bottoms of the oceans, um, those complexes were built at a time when the water levels were different and before what was the global ice age and the melting of all that. And so these things were not accomplished by humanity or us as a race. We have to understand that the rebel angels, these seraphic angels, were cast down and banished here to the earth long before we ever arrived, and bringing the mysteries of heaven and somewhat of an understanding, because basically what we see reflected in the pyramids and the ziggurats and the construction is that they are representing what they have seen in heaven.
Yeah.
And the Most High God speaks about the New Jerusalem, and it's a city, the Mount of the Congregation. It's also in pyramidal form. And so they are just representing in counterfeit aspect in all the different pyramids and ziggurats and things that we find all over the world what they had seen in heaven before they were cast down. And
Y-
so when you understand that they were here long before we ever were, then you can make sense of as to why it was that, these cities and these structures being, uh, as far as architecture, being constructed in a manner with technology that we do not even have and cannot replicate in this day and age of so-called, modern technology. Um, that they had capacities and technologies which far surpassed even that what of what we have in this day and age. And so that's an important aspect of history that is not often spoken about and largely ignored by mainstream churchianity and science and but again, it is found in the oral traditions and mythologies of people worldwide.
Yeah, I have an interesting story that you might enjoy. And when I was in the military, I enlisted in what year? 2004 or 2008. One of my friends was overseas, stationed in, I believe, Sumer, about 5 years prior to me meeting him. And he said that when Saddam's forces fell, the first thing his company did was they went and secured the ziggurat of, is it Ur? The ziggurat of Ur. He said they went and secured it and they wouldn't let any of the soldiers go in, but like, which was odd to begin with because the soldiers kind of like pillaged Saddam's palaces and sent watches home and gold home. And
Right,
he said that they had to lock down the whole area. And he said they excavated, or they took a ton of stuff, American soldiers took a ton of stuff out of the Ziggurat of Ur secretly. Like,
hmm
like huge trucks full of, they didn't know what it was.
right,
Um,
right.
so just an interesting story. I found that really intriguing when the guy told me that he was at the Ziggurat of Ur. I inquired further, and he said that they literally cleaned that out secretly. They weren't allowed to know what was pulled out of it, but like we pulled tons of stuff out of the Ziggurat of Ur. Like they were digging inside the Ziggurat of Ur.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, when you truly come to understand, again, as far as the connections to everything, as far as the New World Order and their agenda, the whole focus of going into Iraq and Afghanistan was to gain access to these ancient cultures and civilizations and the technologies which have been buried with them, and the cloning aspects of gaining access to giants, and in this case Gilgamesh, because right before that war went down and the push to invade Iraq was, as far as the September 11th and the whole excuse of targeting Iraq,
Yeah.
um, Gilgamesh's body was found there in Ur, in Babylon, and they wanted definitely to gain access. And so the German scientists, which had just located and announced the discovery of Gilgamesh there, which, if you don't know who Gilgamesh is, he's mentioned in the Book of Giants that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he's one of these hybrid beings, the men of renown that came into being as a result of the Watchers mating with the daughters of Cain. And so he's one of these demagogic type of beings. He was a giant, um, and six fingered, six toed, and he was also the ruler of Babylon in these ancient times. And the city, when they discovered it, it had an ancient depiction of him holding a lion like a little kitty cat underneath his arm. And so,
I've seen that. I've seen that.
yeah. And so, yeah, that was one of the reasons why they pushed so quickly to gain access to and to enter and invade into Iraq. And like your friend said, the first things that were targeted were the ancient sites as well as the museums that held these ancient artifacts and these different, technologies, and the remnants of these different technologies. And so same thing happened in Afghanistan as well.
Yeah.
And so in all the different places, one of the reasons the Middle East is being targeted, and even Israel being taken over by the Rothschilds, and like the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi codices, these kind of things being discovered and kept, because as far as the Dead Sea Scrolls, they've only released to the public the broken fragments of the many texts that were discovered there.
Yeah.
And most of that is still private. They even discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls two full Aramaic copies of the Book of Enoch in full and complete. And they haven't released any of that, and they probably never will. And so, we only get the fragmented portions, which is kind of just all gibberish, and
Yeah.
they keep all the good stuff for themselves. But the elites, they know what they are doing, and a lot of these countries that are targeted for invasion, the reasons for such is to gain access to the ancient archaeology.
I agree 100%. And the elites, it's so, this world is so confusing because I believe the elites have a much more clear picture of our history and what's going on, where like researchers like you are putting things together. You know what I mean? But the elites know. They know exactly
Absolutely.
what's coming, what is transpired. What do you think? So you don't think if this was a feathered serpent or a seraphim, there's probably no way that it was good. Does that sound right? Good.
In my opinion, no.
Okay. And also the nature of it is the lens is a 400 millimeter lens. So if this was in deep space, this image, and you probably don't like me saying deep space. If this was in, we'll just play along for a moment. If this was in deep space, this would be huge. If this was closer to me, then it would be probably about the size it looked in the image. I don't know if you are you tracking what I'm saying. It's like looking through a telescope where I captured it, but it was so big in the frame that it was probably much closer. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And here's why a lot of people are super turned off when they find out someone believes in flat earth. And a lot of people's minds are closed to it completely. And even though, I'm not a flat earther, I've seen your research, and all I know is that something huge has been hidden from mankind, and we have been deceived. And there's a huge secret that we don't know that would change everything and explain everything. And flat earthers believe in God. And everything I research leads to good and evil. So do you see what I'm saying? Why my mind is so open? Like, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, again, yeah, when you study and start to find the underlying connections of truth between the ancient mysteries, the oral traditions, prophecy, and what is revealed within the biblical narrative and religions worldwide, you find the theme of one similar story, and that is the war in heaven, the separation of light and darkness, and the rebel angels um, being in opposition to what is the angelic hierarchy, and them being banished here, cast out, that they have been given temporary reign over this earth and this world. But all that will end with the coming of the return, the second advent of Christ as Savior Messiah. But with regard to flat earth and the cosmology, it's very easy to determine that the earth is not moving and that there is no measurable curvature. Anybody can go to wherever they may live, anywhere in the world, and look across even an 8 mile stretch of uh, land across a lake or whatever, and you can determine that you can see things beyond what should be possible according to the formula for determining the rate and the measure of curvature. Curvature simply does not exist. So no matter what you think about the the shape or the orientation of the Earth, the first off, scientifically, it is affirmed that we are not moving at 1,037 miles an hour, as science declares. I mean, that's faster than the speed of sound and faster than a bullet shot from a gun.
Yeah.
And every scientific experiment that has been put forth, Michaelson Morley, Gale, Sagnac, Aries Fairley, all these individuals that have done these, and these were heliocentrists. When they first did the experimentation, they were trying to determine the rate and the speed and the velocity of the so-called spin of the Earth. and they discovered that there is no motion to the Earth. And
Yeah.
then the other thing is that there is no measurable curvature. And so, no matter what you think about the shape, the whole idea that the Earth is spinning as it moves annually around the sun is fallacious and has to be reconsidered. And the whole paradigm of what we've been taught with regard to the Copernican heliocentric model for understanding world can easily be determined to be false. And as I said, all one has to do is go try to find curvature. There is no curvature. And so, I mean, as far as being flat Earth or heliocentric, it's whether you understand truth or not.
Yeah, and I mean, just to be completely 100% honest, I am not intelligent enough to prove that the Earth is a globe or to prove that the Earth is flat.
Sure,
But,
you are.
well,
Everybody is.
if I studied it and started learning, then yeah, I probably would. But where I was getting with it is that even though I'm not a flat earther, here's what you guys have going for you that makes me give you guys the utmost respect. The first one is God. Do you see what I'm saying? Already, those are bonus points because flat earth and God go together, and that is awesome. And also, it's such a different way of thinking that if you can open your mind up to the fact that maybe you've been lied to forever about Earth being a globe when it's really flat, if you can open your mind up and just play that over in your head again, it shatters the control matrix. If you can, like me, I'm on the fence. I don't know. But the fact that I will open my mind up to it and contemplate it and look into the research is literally a matrix busting, veil shattering. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a way of thinking that is so enlightening that it makes it hard for you to be a brainwashed zombie. So what I'm getting to is whether it's right or wrong, the morals behind it are awesome, and the way of thinking is revolutionary in our modern time. So that's why it doesn't turn me off to basically discuss it, to talk to you, I already hold you with a ton amount of respect because of all the work you've done. I've looked through your bibliography of the books you've written. I've looked at all the content you put out. So you see what I don't know. It's revolutionary. It's a way to shatter the control matrix. What out of everything you've researched, what would you say for somebody who's completely, I guess, asleep, who hasn't done the research you've done, who doesn't have a clue, what would you say the grand picture is? I mean, obviously we know good and evil, but what is all your research led you to, I guess?
Good question. And for those that don't know and have not heard about me, I'm the author of 20 books. I've done a lot of research. I've written a lot of information and shared it about a lot of different things. Really quick before we go into the bigger picture, with regard to flat Earth cosmology, I did not even want to begin to look into it.
That's where I'm at right now.
Ludicrous.
That's where I'm
I
at.
consider it to be a complete waste of time, and for the longest time, I refused to. But all my listeners kept encouraging me, kept asking me, and in a lot of the work that I do, I always encourage people to have an open mind and to do the research before bringing judgment or condemning, ancient manuscripts before you ever have read them. So it was either prove myself a hypocrite or open myself to it, and so I decided to look into it for one day. And quickly, what I realized was that there is no measurable curvature. And you don't have to be a PhD scientist, and you don't have to be some individual with a college degree. Any person anywhere in the world can go and determine that you can see monuments, lighthouses, cityscapes, um, islands. You know, a lot of people live near Florida. You can see Cuba from 90 miles away, or if you live in Hawaii, you can see Oahu from the mainland 100 miles away, which should not be possible according to the rate for determining curvature. And so it's very easy to determine that what we have been told about the curvature of the earth. And the other thing is the properties of water. There's no way that water can adhere to a ball, and there's no way that it can settle in a curved form. Water will always only be contained
Level.
in a basin, and it will be completely level and flat, no matter what it is held in. And so, the properties of water negate the whole concept that we are living on a sphere or that the earth is a ball as well. And so, I mean, anybody can do these kind of things. And once you open yourself to the possibilities that we've been lied to, well, what you quickly learn is that the deception is way larger than we ever imagined. And that there's a
Principalities and
reason.
powers. It's
Yeah,
not humans that have deceived us.
exactly.
And
It
that's
is the
why.
spiritual. Even you consider also that the Anunnaki mythology that they have in the Sumerian teachings, they teach a heliocentric worldview, and that the Anunnaki established bases on the moon and Mars. And yet, when you understand that the cosmology being taught in the Sumerian mythos is completely fabricated, you realize how far, because the cuneiform
And
texts date back 6,000 years.
and,
And
and we
so
were slaves to the Anunnaki, so why would we believe them? You know what I mean?
right, exactly, yes. And there's a reason why they establish and put forth the mythology and the cosmology and the ideology that they created bases on the moon and Mars. And it all has to do with the coming ancient alien deception that uh, the extraterrestrials created us. And so that's the next aspect of the heliocentric deception. First, they told us that we evolved of monkeys and that the earth is just random chaos came about and life just evolved here. And so they've taken out the peculiar significance of humanity and that the cosmology was created specially for us and by a divine being, and that we are special um, to that individual, the Godhead and the Creator that manifests all things. And so, with the Darwinian heliocentric Copernican model, they have established science as the new paradigm, the new religion, and they are now pushing forth in the Ancient Alien series, all of that, that the extraterrestrials are the ones that seeded us, and that's why we can't find this whole missing link,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
far as man and ape, when all of that is pure bunk, and you'll learn that if you ever decide to study. But anyway, so I refused to, for the longest time, to even examine this, but when I did, I study all the ancient manuscripts. That's my focus. And when I open myself to the possibility that we've been lied to with regard to cosmology, I revisited the Book of Enoch, the book on the courses of
And
the
the
heavenly
luminaries.
luminaries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
and so
I've read.
my
Yeah.
ninth book became the Flat Earth as key to decrypt the Book of Enoch, and it was
And it
me
is.
understanding. Yeah, it is. It is the key
I
to understanding the Book of Enoch, and I revealed that. And
yeah.
then I did a whole trilogy on what I learned when I, again, opened myself to this possibility.
And then you can understand why they wanted it out of the Bible. They didn't want us
Right,
to
exactly,
learn the
yeah.
movements of the
Yeah.
luminaries. They didn't want us to even awaken to the fact of luminaries. And I was smiling a minute ago because I thought to myself, maybe this week I should go somewhere accredited online where I can get the true math of how much the horizon should drop, every
Right.
so
It's 8
often.
inches per mile squared.
Okay, so maybe I should track that down and I should try an experiment and see if it shatters my reality. I was
Yeah,
also
absolutely, you
laughing
should.
because people in the comments were saying, "Yeah, Zen, red pill 'em, Zen, red pill 'em."
Right on.
But
Yeah,
also
it's easy to determine.
another,
There is no curvature, and so anybody can test this for yourself.
I
And
might go
then
do
when
it
you
this
come
week.
to this realization, immediately you have to throw out all that we've been taught and indoctrinated into with regard to the educational system.
Yeah. Because that would be a great excuse to get, there's a new P1000 camera out that's supposed
Yes,
to have the best
exactly.
zoom
Right.
on the market. This experiment would be a great excuse to try to get that camera. But
Absolutely.
also something else, and I just want to note here, not being a flat earther, the most common argument I hear when people are like discussing flat earth is the non-flat earthers, their comment is always, why would they lie about the shape of the planet? And what I think in my head every time I see that comment is I think because they're hiding God. That's why.
Exactly.
They're hiding God. Like it's you know what I mean? Like you said, I've read the Book of Enoch. I've got the Nag Hammadi scriptures, which I started reading this month. I've kind of slacked a little bit on it. I love reading ancient manuscripts, and I mean, basically, you're right. If you contemplate that the Earth might be a flat plane, all of a sudden tons of things in the Bible make sense. The Book of Enoch, luminaries, the pillars of the earth, the four corners of the earth, just thing after thing after thing kind of falls into place. And it's scary. And I literally have not researched flat earth because I know what's going to happen. Do you see what and it sounds like that's the point you were at before. You like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I haven't done it. Maybe I should do it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you need to do it, brother. I mean, because again, it has everything to do with understanding truth or being lied and deceived, and continuing to hold on to that indoctrination. Because yeah, what I find with regard to the search and uh, journey to awakening with regard to truth is that most people really have no regard for truth. They only want to study what they think they know about truth
Yeah.
and which confirms what they think they know. And so they are holding on to uh, their indoctrination when they don't realize that they've been lied to with regard to almost everything.
Yeah.
And so, they're fighting, kicking, and screaming, and not willing to look into things that oppose what they hold on to as reality. But the truth is what we consider to be a reality is mostly false, and it's a paradigm built upon lies.
It's
You asked me about the bigger picture. I've
yeah.
written two books actually, called The Great Contest. The first one is War in Heaven. The second one is The Enmity Between the Seed Lines. And one of the reasons why a lot of people hate me is because I teach that the devil has his own progeny here upon the earth,
What
and that
and
Cain,
progeny,
who,
does that mean bloodline?
yeah, bloodline,
Okay.
descendants, children. And so, what I teach, and one of the large revelations that I brought forth, is that what everybody thinks of as being an apple, Eve eating fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they believe this to be an apple, but it actually has sexual
Ooh.
connotations, in that when you look at
Yeah.
the Hebrew words, even to eat means to lie with a woman. To seed, which is the Hebrew word zera, means children, progeny, and even fruit. It also is connected to children and descendants and progeny.
I could
And
see
so,
how that could get you some heat. I could yeah.
again, a lot of people hate me because of this teaching, but it when you understand what occurred in the garden, and that Eve being beguiled by the serpent, that she was actually impregnated with Cain, who was not the firstborn son of Adam, but actually the firstborn son of the devil. And that's why he was a murderer, a liar, and a deceiver. And he
Wow.
killed his brother Abel. And so Abel was replaced by Seth. And if you study the Bible, you'll see that Cain and his descendants are found in Genesis chapter 4, and they are separated from the children, Adam's children, that are found in Genesis chapter 5. And so, the most important thing to come to understanding about what happened in the garden is that the devil has his own bloodline and children here upon the earth, and that we are not all the same. And understanding that, we see that the elites of the world today, they are the bloodline of Cain.
And they
And that's
covet their
why,
bloodlines.
yeah, they are of the devil's bloodline. They truly are the children of the devil. And that's why we see all the presidents of the world being connected and bloodline together, and that they are even descendants and connected to the royals that are sitting on the thrones in the UK. All the bloodlines and those that are sitting on the thrones of all the countries of the world, they are the children of Cain. And they are propagating the New World Order. And they are pushing an agenda which, supports evil. And that's why these particular bloodlines are also involved in pedophilia, the drinking of blood,
Yeah.
terrorism of children, the slaughter of innocents, waging wars and perpetuating false flag events in order to drive the agenda for war. They, even why we see Masonic Illuminati symbolism on the currency of the world, because they are the ones. Satan is the force which owns
The
and
world.
prints the money and loans it to the governments of the world. That's how much power and authority these particular bloodlines have. And that's why it will only be the return of Christ that ends the charade and, dissipates the Ponzi scheme that they have been perpetuating for so very long. And that's the spiritual component, the aspect that most of the world does not understand. Because they don't, first, they don't understand that Satan truly is a force which is driving the agenda for the New World Order, and that the secret societies, these Masonic brotherhoods and sisterhoods, which are loosely connected worldwide, they are truly the children of the devil, and that's why they are involved in evil in manners that we just can't wrap our heads around.
Yeah.
And so, unless you understand and acknowledge that truly there is a bloodline and a people that are connected to the devil, we just can't make sense of why evil is perpetuated and propagated even in this day and age.
Yeah, you guys, I have alerts turned off because I didn't want to interrupt Zen with subscriber alerts and reading comments and stuff. Jennifer, that was your second donation. Thank you very much. Jennifer said to ask you if you've done any research into specific blood types. It sounds like she might.
Yeah, I have. And what you find is that the Rh negative and these negative, as far as the different blood types, they are connected. That is an indicator. And you'll also find that these particular blood types are more prone to psychic ability. And the reason being, and this is one of the reasons why the elites intermarry amongst themselves in order to preserve this particular aspect of their bloodline, is because they are genetically and DNA wise different than the children of Adam. And they know that, and they understand that even for themselves. Again, which is why they strategically intermarry amongst their cousins and brothers and half sisters, and that this has been done historically for thousands of years, going back to the time of the rulership of the pharaohs and the Sumerian kings and all of that. And which is, for normal humanity, this is what creates schizoid nature in regular humanity, and why the elites would practice and involve themselves in incest just doesn't make sense to us. But again, this is an aspect of the spiritual nature of the war, and their being direct
Perversion.
children and descendants of the devil that we can't make sense of.
Yeah. They said Rh negative would be an indicator of What, the evil bloodline? Is that?
Well, not necessarily just evil, because we're all mixed now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is connected to the, as far as the involvement of the sons of God with the daughters of Cain, as mentioned in Genesis 6. And so the elites, that this is one of the uh, factors of their particular blood, but that doesn't make you necessarily evil. It does make you more prone to psychic capacity and to extrasensory perceptions and that kind of thing. However, just having Rh negative blood doesn't mean that you're evil, because again, we're all mixed now, and it doesn't matter what bloodline you're born into. If you, it's how you are and whether your Savior Messiah, and that the way to salvation comes through Christ, because He came into the flesh in order to redeem us and to rectify the fall, and to bring salvation to everybody and give everybody a chance to be redeemed. So it doesn't matter if you're born into an Illuminati bloodline anymore. What matters is how you choose to be and whether you accept grace and salvation through Him.
Thank you for elaborating on that. Um, I I had another question too. So, would you say that have you seen the current push that I'll say on Facebook the most is where I've seen it, where people that are Rh negative are bragging that they have an alien blood type, that they're not from this earth. Have you seen how that, and that's just another example to me of how everything gets twisted. Rather than hearing the truth that it could possibly be an evil bloodline from the seed of the serpent, they put a spin on it and make everybody want to be Rh negative because it means you're an alien, you're one of the
Right.
creators.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That the whole thing with the divine right of kings is connected to the same thing. But again, it's not um it's not good or evil one way or the other, even though the elites have taught amongst themselves that that's what makes them unique and that's what gives them superhuman capabilities. But again, it connects you to these particular bloodlines, and these particular bloodlines are the fallen angelic bloodlines, and that they are the children of Cain. And so it's not necessarily a positive thing. But of course, the elites are going to put it and spin it and make it positive, and the whole thing with the divine right to rule and why they are superior and why they should rule over us. And so, yeah, that's the mindset, and that's what they teach amongst themselves, that they are far superior to us, and that's why they should have the right to rule and decide the fate and destiny of all of humanity.
So I'm not in this question. I'm not trying to get you to make predictions. I know you don't do that, but you personally, do you believe that we're close to the end times, as in our generation or our children's generations will see this battle between good and evil play out? Do you think it's
Absolutely.
close?
Yeah, in the work that I do, I explain that in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21, which are the three chapters in the gospel where the apostles asked Christ to tell them about his return and what these signs would be for the end of the age. And in those chapters, he specifically said to know ye the parable of the fig tree. And I explained that there's a text called the Apocalypse of Peter where Peter asked him directly to explain what the parable of the fig tree meant. And he tells them that it is and connected to the nation of Israel and the regathering of the house of Israel. And that was a sign for those that would be alive at the end of the age. And so that sign took place in our lifetime, and
Yeah.
that was the reestablishment of Israel in 1948, as its return and it's coming into being once more. And so that was the blooming of the fig tree. And so in the scriptures and in the prophetic text, which for those that are interested in the study of prophecy, I put together a book called The Great Commission 3, The End Time Apocalypses. And in this book, I put together all of the extra biblical manuscripts which are connected to explaining what would be the signs and of the end of the age. And so in that book, it makes it very clear that the generation that would be alive when the fig tree bloomed, which again is the recreation of the nation state of Israel, that we would be the generation which saw the fulfillment of all prophecy. And yes, we are that generation. In Psalms 90, verse 10, it tells us that a generation is between 70 and 80 years. Last year was, this year, May 14th, 2018, it was the 70th year of the establishment of the nation of Israel. And so, in my opinion, according to Scripture, we have about 10 years remaining. And so, that's according to Scripture and according to the blooming of the fig tree, which, in my opinion, was the sign. And even the fallen angels, they know that when the blooming of the fig tree happened, that they were, time was short. And that's why we see since 1948 an acceleration
of technology,
knowledge coming to light, as well as the alien agenda and extraterrestrials. Roswell occurred during that time.
And we see that huge boom of technology pushing the digital, give them everything. You know what I mean? There's no need for God. Look what we have. You have an iPhone. You can.
Yes.
Oh, I got a question. So I don't know where I picked this up. It was from somebody's research. It's not something I came up with. The fact that we're all carrying around black scrying mirrors that let us see the future, the past, talk to people in other places in real time. Have you ever looked into that? That these cell phones with the black screens?
Well, it's like AI. It's like the crystal ball.
Yeah, exactly. That we've been, we've been tricked. And when you start to look at everything, every conspiracy theory, if you start to look at everything on a biblical scale, good and evil, like it is mind-blowing to see the perversion. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to sound crazy like I'm anti-everything, but you have to, like, I don't know, you can't ignore it. You see what I'm saying? Like everything has been perverted.
Right.
Like
exactly. It's all in your face. And that's one of the signs as well. In the scriptures, it tells us that when you live in an age when good is evil and evil good, that is one of the signs that you're, living at the end of days.
Have you ever... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that's exactly where we are.
Have you ever heard of Dr. Gene on YouTube?
No.
Okay. I don't know. He is a preacher. He's the type of preacher. I don't know. I'm not going to misdescribe him. I don't go to church. I'm not into like watching biblical people on YouTube. This guy, Dr. Gene, is brilliant. He breaks down the Bible in a way that you can understand it, and the only facts he will use is scripture to quote scripture. And the same type of things you're talking about, like he's talking about the same thing. You should really, I'm telling you, you would probably really enjoy the guy because he's not putting any opinion in anything. You know what I mean? Oh, I remember why I brought him up. So he's saying how this new thing, the world has defined love, meaning love has a bunch of qualities, acceptance and getting along and coming together as one, and all the qualities of love. And he said the world is now looking at love that you have to accept people who are homosexual or you're considered hate. He said this is the ultimate perversion. They have changed what love means so that if you don't abide by the new perverted acceptance of love, you're considered hate. Because he comes from a very strict church where I'm sure you can imagine, I probably don't have to go into details, but he comes from a strict church, and it's an awesome video. He just put it up yesterday, you guys. Yesterday or the day before, Dr. Gene. And he talks about how the world has changed the meaning of love to pervert it so that Christians are considered hateful because they won't accept the Muslim religion, because they won't accept alternative sexual lifestyles, because they won't accept, and on and on and on. And it's a mind-blowing little video he put up yesterday, the day before. He's 100% right. They have completely perverted love to justify making a religion like Christianity hate, which it's not, obviously.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, that's one of these signs that we're at the end of the age. Everything good
Is
would
evil.
and evil would be accepted as good, and good would be accepted as evil, and everything would be turned upside down. And that's what we see reflected in the society all around us. Everything's been twisted and perverted.
And what's your advice for the future, for believers, for non-believers? Like, what would you tell somebody, I don't know how to describe it, on the fence? Like, what do you think the mark of the beast will be? Do you think it's here? Do you think it's coming? Like, what do you believe?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's my opinion that the mark of the beast will have to do with uh, AI and technology, and that we can escape judgment, that we don't have to, that we can just transport our minds and our consciousness into different bodies, into different forms, and that we don't have to, there's no judgment coming, and that we can escape all that, that we can live to be gods, and we're gods ourselves, and that there's no need for a savior Messiah. All that is part of, even the ancient aliens being established as our creators. That is part of the strong delusion, and all that is part of, the coming, as far as the establishment of the beast system. As far as what I recommend people do in order to prepare themselves and to become knowledgeable on these things, because, again, most people, it says in the scriptures, my people are killed for lack of knowledge, is to study prophecy. Because once you understand that the Bible is prophetic, and that is 100% accurate and has been over thousands of years, well, you realize that the establishment and the writing of it and the inspiration of it could not have been man-made, and that truly only the Creator, the God, could have been behind the gathering of it. And when I say Bible, I don't just mean the authorized King James 66 books of the Bible.
You mean the
I
ancient
mean, there
texts
are
also?
thousands of other texts out there which are inspired, and which people need to read in order to understand the fullness of the times that we're in. Just like I said with regard to the book that because we have a publishing company, and we put together all these different manuscripts in different collections. You can find them at sacredwordpublishing.net and .com. And like I said, the third book of the Great Commission series is all the end time apocalyptic scripts, ancient manuscripts from all over the world, which are specific to our being now at the end of days. And so if you want to learn about what's coming and what we are going to be contending with, and even what occurred in the past, then you study the prophetic word. And in my opinion, anybody that really wants to know what's going on, that's the most important thing you can do with your time, is to study prophecy. And that's what I recommend everybody do, because when you understand prophecy and you study and you make it real for yourself, it will lead you to direct relationship with the Godhead, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. And you will come to know truth in a manner that is personal. And you will no longer be able to be deceived by the world or by the lies of anybody out there, because you will know truth and you will have a relationship with it. And so that is when it becomes real. And that's when, no matter what anybody says, and no matter what religions are deceptive and what lies are being propagated by
You
the
can look at a
mainstream
man and you
news
can
or
see the evil.
whatever, yeah, you'll know truth because it will become a part of you.
Yeah. Last night I did a video about the new Joker movie coming out, and Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker. And people were really turned off. I said, instead of saying Joaquin Phoenix is playing the Joker, I titled the video, Joaquin Phoenix is channeling the Joker. And I essentially said, I see the evil spirit. He's not acting a part in a movie, although he is. I see the evil. You know what I mean? And like people that I can see it. Like nothing to do with third senses or sixth sense or psychic abilities. Like when you really, like, just like you're saying, the prophecies and the ancient text, those things get my attention, and I research them until I can't get any further, and I can just see it now. I can see when a musician is, and maybe it's just intelligence. Maybe I'm just judging them based off what they say and what they do, but I can see the evil everywhere. In actors, in musicians, in politicians, in everyday people. I can just see it. Like I can meet somebody and just see that they are completely lost. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, that's what they want. And I don't think I'm like special or psychic or anything. I think kind of what you just said. It is getting knee deep into research and prophecies and the book of Enoch and the Nag Hammadi scriptures and on and on and on, and you start to get a clear view of the deception and the perversion of everything that we know. Everything.
Well, the other thing is that they are not trying to hide it anymore. Whereas the New World Order used to be secretive, now that we are at the end of days, they're not trying to hide anything. It is all in plain sight. Anybody can study it and come to truth and come to discernment on it. And those Hollywood actors, politicians, all these different stars and celebrities, they openly profess and show that they are lying to evil, and that they are part of the Illuminati and they are servants to them.
Yeah.
They're proud. They boast about it.
Yeah.
And they know that having that kind of allegiance, they have to do very criminal things. They have to sell out their souls in order to be supported by these particular factions.
Yeah.
And so it's nothing to be proud of or to boast. They're actually suffering and ripped up inside because of the things that they've had to do to get to where they are. And so that's why a lot of them are not happy people. And, to get that kind of power, that kind of wealth, that kind of fame, they've had to do things that they are very ashamed of and embarrassed of. And, everybody that tries to gain access to those kind of worlds, those are the kind of things you have to do. Those are the kind of games you have to play. And so, and their souls are going to be damned for it.
And I play this game with subscribers. Well, and Jennifer, I promise I'm not singling you out right now, but people will be like, well, what about Elon Musk? And I say, he's one of them. He's one of them. What about Trump?
Absolutely.
He's one of them.
Absolutely.
Like, I know that I want to like Joe Rogan. I want to like Elon Musk. I want to think that Trump's a great president. But guess what? They're all one of them. You don't become a billionaire. You don't become the face of the internet. You don't become the face of the nightly news without being one of them.
Right. Exactly.
A person like me, if I was just me solo, how I am right now, if I was to inherit great wealth and think that I was going to be the new face of JonsArmy Network TV, they would either kill me or have me in court every single day until every dime I had was gone. And I keep trying to tell people, they're all. They're all. We don't have to like guess. Is this person sold out? Is this person? They're all. They all are.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Even if I'm wrong, I honestly don't believe that a hero of men, a real hero, a godly hero, he's not going to be rich and famous. He's going to be a hero like you, Zen. He's going to be underground, low key. Do you see what I'm saying? He's not going to be rich and famous and driving a Bentley. And I'm telling you, I can see it, man. I have the whole. I mean, I don't know everything, but I have the whole picture going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fully. I mean, and again, it's all having. This is why Christ said in the scriptures, that only those with eyes to see, ears to hear, and a mind to understand. And the truth is that the elect is but very few. It's a small minority, which means most are deceived, most are lost and led astray. And that's simply the fact of it. Most have no concern for anything that is, the larger reasons, the larger aspects of why we are here, what all this is truly about. And so individuals like myself and the work that we do, most of the world hates us and will condemn us and judge us for those things that we are doing. And because again,
and they will make you look like the bad guy. They will make you look like the bad guy when you're not.
And most of the world will ignore us and condemn us and judge us. And so that's simply the way of it. I mean, they murdered the Savior, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, I said it was only going to be an hour. We've went a little bit over that. Dude, I love talking to you. Hopefully you'd be willing, I think you should come back on at least once a month, maybe once a week, man. So far from the comment section, like it seems like a lot of people really enjoy you. I saw some comments saying that they went over and subscribed to your channel. His link's in the description, you guys. I would try to keep Zen on the phone longer and longer, but my son and my daughter are both here, and it's like I'm supposed to be going and doing something with my son right now. So I already kind of squeezed an hour away from the family to make this happen because I really wanted to talk to you. But man, I would really love to talk to you again. I definitely think you are full of knowledge and you are full of light, love, good energy, like the real love, the godly energy, Jesus Christ energy. Like you're definitely someone to be looked up to and someone to follow, man.
I'm just a regular person, brother. We're all foot washers and we're all following the example of Christ, being servants to humanity. But I can't do once a week. My schedule's too full. But once a month, yeah, I can probably do that. And
that would be awesome, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Everybody hit the thumbs up for us. I've posted the link to his YouTube channel in the description. And I will get back with you guys tomorrow. I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you.
All right. Be blessed, all.